let's talk about this wonderful concept called attribute sampling. Now, this falls under statistical sampling. It's a method that follows statistical sampling, meaning we can quantify it, right? We can see statistical approaches allow auditors to quantify sampling risk. That's something we've seen before. Now, attribute sampling is a method used to examine a population for the presence or absence of certain attributes. Pretty straightforward, right? It's within the name. Characteristics or attributes. We'll have an example. It can be used to test the effectiveness of the client's internal controls. We'll see that as well. So for example, an auditor may use attribute sampling to test the completeness of the client's sales transactions by selecting a sample of sales invoices and confirming that they're recorded in the general ledger. You are examining the population for the presence or absence of certain characteristics. So you could analyze them for any attribute, right? By vendor, by number, by date, certain attributes to the specific transactions, to whatever it may be, to test particular occurrences of different transactions and attributes within them. As we said, it allows an auditor to quantify sampling risk as it is a statistical approach, and statistical approaches allow auditors to quantify sampling risk. Cool. Sounds good. The auditor would then use the sample results to draw conclusions about the entire population of sales transactions. Additionally, this method could be used when the auditor is looking for a specific condition or occurrence, such as whether the invoices have been approved by the proper manager. So you have a listing of invoices, you've got the date, you've got the number for the invoice, you've got the vendor, you've got the approval by the manager. Those are all particular characteristics or attributes of each transaction that you could search for. Discovery sampling, this is a little tidbit of knowledge to know. Discovery sampling is a type of attribute sampling used to look for very critical characteristics such as fraud. Just fun facts to know, because you can see these items as multiple choice questions. Now let's talk about the uses of attribute sampling. It's used to calculate a rate of occurrence. So how often does this one manager come up in the invoices that we saw before? And it's often based on a yes or no answer. This method of analysis can be employed to measure the accuracy of journal entries, such as asking, have the entries been posted to the right account? Or did the person approve it? Or was it this person that approved it? All different yes and no questions. Attribute sampling is a useful statistical sampling method for testing controls, as we saw earlier. One example is related to authorization of cash disbursements. So very important there, because you don't want cash to be dispersed to the incorrect people. This method looks at the characteristics of a transaction to determine if it is valid or not. This can be an effective way to ensure that all cash disbursement transactions have been properly authorized. That's pretty critically important, and as we see, we are going to assign attribute sampling as a great way to test controls. And we'll see that time and time again. Other test controls related to attribute sampling, we get some other examples. Could be inspecting employee time cards for proper approval by supervisors, testing the accuracy of the calculation of payroll accruals. Now, here you could just say, was it calculated properly? Yes or no. Testing for completeness of vendor invoices. Were the invoices completed? Yes or no. Inspecting the review of customer accounts for any discrepancies. Testing the accuracy of inventory reconciliation. If any of these tests result in deficiencies, these issues could affect the control as a whole rather than being a one-time issue. So we see the concern here is testing controls. When we do substantive testing or test of details, that's testing particular transactions. Okay, right, didn't match up, there was an error. But here we're looking for, if the characteristics don't add up, it could be indicative of a deeper, more pervasive issue in the internal controls. Hey there! Are you ready to not only pass your CPA exams, but truly understand and enjoy the material while studying? I know it seems impossible, right? Especially to enjoy the material? We'll do it together. Tap into the power of CPA.examprep.ai, where we've got personalized quizzes, multiple choice questions, memorization guides, flashcards, simulations, all tailored to your learning. Our adaptive study planning puts you on the fastest path to success and lifts you back up if you fall behind. Avoid wasting your precious time and money attempting an exam with a low chance of passing, because who wants that? We want to get you through this process as quick as possible. Our exam readiness prediction lets you walk in with confidence, knowing that you're prepared for success on exam day. Thankfully, there's no payment method needed to get started, so why don't you come join us? Visit cpa.examprep.ai and let's achieve your exam success together.